go on to the next speaker, Groh, archivist at International Tracing Service, but our since 2014 head of Department of Archives.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, allow me just a few words about the International Tracing Service, who we are, what we do. As the title says, we have been a tracing service established by the Allies to trace fates of former concentration camp inmates, forced laborers, and then displaced persons, so survivors of the Holocaust and of the National Socialist persecution. In 2013, parts of our documents have been introduced into the Memory of the World program of the UNESCO, and since 2007, this is quite new, our archives are open to researchers worldwide. So until 2006, we had quite a restricted policy of access, so data were only given to survivors or to families of survivors. Since 2007, anyone who's interested or has a legal interest or a historical interest in our records can consult them. So we're not a classical archive taking over documents from specific institutions as the Bundesarchiv. We're rather a very large collection, and so our collections are not provenance-based, which concerns historians and archivists a lot, but I guess the colleagues from the technology side, if I may call you so, are less concerned about this because it's all about data. We have the advantage that a very high percentage of our material is already digitized. The ITS has begun digitizing its collections in 1998. So in one way it's an advantage that we have most of our records are digital, are integrated into a database. In a way it's a disadvantage as well, because in 1998, you can imagine, we did not scan the way we would do it today. So we had no standards then. All in all, we have 88 million images. Please do not compare this with documents, because we scanned both sides of documents. So it's 88 million images and 6.5 terabytes. Our holdings are structured by pertinence. It's about incarceration, so things about concentration camps, Gestapo, prisons, forced labor, and displaced persons, so the survivors of National Socialist prosecution. A lot of our collections are file cards. The most prominent of these so-called central name index, probably comparable to the NSDAP membership at the Zentrale Kartei and the Stasi Unterlagen, which we'll hear about in a minute. This is also digitized. I have not chosen this one because it's millions of cards and we have several spellings of names in there. And I have not chosen it for today because it's part of another EU-funded project. So I have taken two collections which are less problematic from this provenance point of view. The first one, the cards from the Dachau concentration camp, when prisoners had to give away their personal belongings in the so-called Effektenkammer, effects room. They had been registered again in the so-called Häftlingskartei. This is part of the Häftlingskartei. So we have all the basic information about the prisoner, names, profession, date of birth, and then the date when he or she was imprisoned into Dachau. In some cases, and this is something we would be interested in text recognition, you have information about the further persecution. So in this case, Valentin Groh had been further deported into concentration camp Natzweiler. We have already indexed most of our information we have, so we have indexed every 25th card by name, given name, and date of birth. Digitized are all documents, so if you search our database and you get a hit, you can scroll the next 24 pages. So you don't find Gromov, but you might find Gronov. You can go 24 pages back, get it there. This is the way, because it's been part of the question given to us by Reed. This is the way we store these cards, and it's a small file cards about this size. They're all more or less the same. Due to shortage of paper, cards during the end of the war, papers were cut down to the size, and so we have something like this. So that the back side of this card is cigarette paper, and the lines were drawn by hand. But basically, it's all the structure is quite similar with every card. This is the way our database looks. You can search for names, you can search for dates. You would get a hit like this one. The second collection, before I'm running out of time, is probably more interesting. It's more interesting to us, for the ITS anyway. Displaced persons, so-called survivors, who did not want to return to their home countries and were willing to emigrate. They could apply for assistance by the International Refugee Organization, IRO, for care and maintenance. So they got financial or medical support before emigrating. The ITS has been given these files by the UN High Commissioner for Refugees in 1952 and further delivery in 1975. So what we have here is every file has been kept in an envelope like this one. On the envelope we have information about the displaced person that applied for assistance. In this case it's a couple. So basically you have the father or the husband first, and then Begleitpersonen, also persons that accompanied them are here. We have already indexed the nearly 1 million documents we have. In the first case, so the head of family, we have indexed data, name, given name, date of birth, place of birth, religion, signature, nationality, gender, date of application for assistance, place of residence on the date of application, and existence of photos, because in some cases you have photographs of the applicants. For the family members, we have only indexed name, given name, date of birth, and place of birth. So what will we need from text recognition? You see, these are all forms, looking more or less the same. It's all questionnaires. This is what the whole file looks. But the forms have been filled in with handwriting. Several handwritings. Normally these have been employees from the IRO, so maybe hundreds or thousands of different handwritings. In many cases, as the forms have been quite small, they have not the writing succeeds the lines. The historical importance of these data that we have not indexed is that again we have more information about biography. When applying, the applicants have to tell their places of residence that have been usually camps, and they had to say where did they want to emigrate. And all these data are all hidden in here. And I'm very eager to hear. I hope and I guess that you have prepared something with our data as well. I'm very eager to hear what this is, and of course I'm also open to any questions any of you have. Thank you.
My question is mainly, what is in these cards you even don't know the name?
No, yes, we
so you would be interested to that you can search again for the name of this?
Not necessarily. What we'd be interested in would be like the profession.
But currently you don't have the name. You just have it for every 25th card.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So it would be an improvement to have the name of every card.
Yeah, it would be more convenient to search for.
Yeah. And also maybe to connect it to other sources. I guess that these persons are maybe mentioned somewhere else as well.
Right, this goes for all our collections. That
you can make
in several collections. Maybe no cross-linkings between them.
Yeah, and that's exactly what can be done when you have the name and given name, and I think there's no birth date. Or is this the birth date of the item?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's probably very doable. So I think the people from Rostock, but also from Valencia, can confirm that this is a very doable task.
Yeah. You can show something.
Okay. And concerning the second thing, I understand that you already have the person data, also with some dates, but you would be interested in the notes or in some...
Right, exactly. Yeah. We have the names of the file, so the person concerned with the file, But within these questionnaires, there are information like has been incarcerated in Dachau or deported to Buchenwald. And afterwards, we have things, plans to emigrate to the United States, to Canada, Australia, and these data would be very interesting to have in it. Maybe to be able to search for any person that was willing to emigrate to a certain country. This is something we cannot do yet.
Okay, so to get out specific data from this in an automated way. Again, to define, I mean, this is a complex document running over several pages, but even that can be defined as a template and can be applied to 1 million of pages, even with some changing layouts. That should be possible. And then, of course, once you have the fields, you have some semantics included, because you know, okay, here you have e.g. the field, I don't know, relatives or whatever, or jobs, and so on. And then, of course, it will be very much helpful if in such fields repeated information appears. So if you say went to the US, if this is a typical formula, then this will of course help because it reduces the lexicon. I think the colleagues.
Once again, the screen problems. I guess we could have it and do it like at the end, maybe if they can handle the projector problem.
Screen problem?
Yeah, the connection of Linux laptops to the screens.
Okay, that's a pity. Roger, do you want to say some words about it? Just because I think most people trust you.
Just a general remarks that what I explained to many people before. General remark what I said already for many discussions, I mean personal discussions, that now every time when we see these examples here with the cards or whatever we have in these examples which I provided in advance for this Marburg meeting, one should carefully think about what we really want to do. If we want to do having the entire text, like particularly those pieces of text which disappear while binarizing or so, we will do it on the gray image anyway. But for instance, if you have these really thin text pieces or something, it's certainly a very advanced problem to read all this text. But what I always hear is that the real task behind is to search for some special text. So for instance, if we search for the name Groh or forever, even if it's in the database, then if you ask the machine, at least what we can provide, find something which looks pretty much like Groh, then it's a much easier task. And I'm pretty sure we will find it here in any of these documents. So finding these things is much easier, and finding specific data, like for instance here the I guess this is place names like the village names or something like this, or city Kiev, if I remember well, right? Or on the other cards, I guess the places where these NSDAP registration cards were issued is just the name of German, I don't know, county, capital cities or something like that. So it's a restricted set of cities. And if you now are trying to look for these data, just to find these data, it's much easier, and this is really attractable. If you ask me to find a transcript and edition of the entire card, I would say, okay, let's wait for another project. But this is really a big distinction in my eyes.
Okay, may I just add one comment on this one? So it's basically, this would help us a lot, because it's very easy to find names, because this is what we've been used for since 70 years, or digitally since 1998. But historians, researchers come to us and say, I want to have names from people who have been deported from Kiev. And this is something we cannot yet do, because we don't have the indexing data. As well as Herr Mühlberger just said that in the other case, in the other example, people emigrated. These emigration countries, maybe 30 or 40 countries. Northern America, Southern America, Australia, New Zealand, like that. So these are all patterns. So if we would be able to say, just give me all the names of people who wanted to emigrate to Australia, this will be very helpful. We can find the names, but not the countries yet.
Yeah, so maybe I misunderstood, but I saw I understood that, for instance, you were looking for these places also. Wasn't this the place where you were heading for?
Both, yeah.
Yeah, for instance?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure this is pretty much doable. Yeah.
Searching also means that you get a list of results sorted by confidence, and these results can also be used as data input for digital humanities projects. Yeah, digital humanities are data driven, but of course they have to deal with noise. Yeah. You cannot expect 100% correct data. So if someone is doing this manually, okay, then you have 100% correct data, and you can do a statistics where the people came from, e.g. With an automated process, you will not get that. But what you can do with the same technology as searching is you get a list of data which has a kind of confidence. Yeah, and already will allow you a good prediction of what has happened, e.g. In this type of collection.
Thank you. 1 minute.
Maybe just to say that concerning enhancement and banalization, it seems that we don't have significant problems. Using standard parameters, you can get a result which is there. So it's easy to detect lines and to classify the form, etc., and then to recognize. Good news.